he said, I would like you to share with the people that at times like this, the most important ingredient in a leader's life, the most important quality is humility. And so I'm putting that on my iPhone as we're playing golf. But I'm so glad I hung with him because he said, the most important quality in a leader's life, I think, at times like this is humility. And then he said, we have all been marked by this time. And I thought how true that is. I think every one of us have become marked in our lives, marked in our leadership by COVID-19. But as we continued the conversation, and what I love is not only the first answer, but then I love the kind of the underpinnings and the surroundings of what that answer is and contextually grabbing hold of it. He said, and this is powerful, when you are a person of humility, when you're marked by COVID-19, when you're marked by anything, he said, you become marked in a meaningful way. And I don't want you to miss those two words, meaningful way. The moment Ed said to that on the golf course, I'm telling you right now, Ed, keep on shooting. It's okay. I've got to start putting stuff on my iPhone. And so I started pulling it out. And the context of our conversation was pretty much like this. We're all marked when difficulties hit us. When adversity comes, we're all marked. We're all changed. We're all out of our comfort zone. So the question is not, are you going to be marked? The question is, are you going to be marked in a meaningful way? Meaningful means useful. Are we going to be marked in a useful, a good way? Meaningful way. And then Ed said, John, if you have humility, you'll get the best out of the markings. It'll be something that will be purposeful to you. It'll be something that will be helpful to you. It is something that will grow you. If you have humility, you'll be marked in a meaningful way. And then he went on and said, pretty much, if you lack humility, you'll be marked, but it won't be purposeful. It reminded me of the statement that when adversity comes to us, some people get better and some people get bitter. Same adversity, same issue, just a total different reaction. And what Ed was saying is humility gives us the opportunity to respond in a useful way. What does that mean? I think of Jim Collins when he wrote the book Good to Great. Remember he talked about that level 5 executive? And he began to talk about greatness. And we all know this, but he said greatness, he says there's a paradoxical blend about level 5 leaders, and they have a personal humility in their life, and then they have a professional will. And he was basically saying that all of the great leaders, they have a professional will to build a great company and be people of excellence and do the thing that they are purposefully trying to accomplish to help people. He said they're very professional in their will, but they're very humble in their personal life. And he was saying it's the perfect blend. It's what I call, I like this, the balance blend. It just keeps us on course. And so the rest of the golf game, Ed and I had conversation about humility in a meaningful way. Here are the thoughts. First of all, humility allows us to be teachable. Humility allows us to have a spirit of wanting to learn, wanting to grow, willing to change. I read a marriage therapist, and what she wrote was very interesting. She said the most important quality when you look for a potential mate, she said the most important quality is to find somebody that has a desire to keep learning and growing throughout the relationship. Well, when I saw that, I thought that's not only good marriage counseling, that's good business counseling. That's good friendship counseling. I mean, you want to have a relationship with someone that they're continually learning, they're continually growing, they're expanding. We want people on our team to be talented. Got to have to put alongside of talent, teachableness. And my observation is that too many leaders, they rely on their giftedness to take priority over their growth. So if you have talent but you aren't teachable, you'll have a fast start because talent always gives you the jump, always. But you'll have a fast start, but you'll have a weak finish because you didn't sustain that talent with continual growth. And if you have talent and you are teachable, you'll not only have a fast start, obviously, but you'll have a strong finish. Ed said something that day that has just stuck with me. He said, I think, John, we have too much bravado in leaders. Too many of them are, instead of being humble and looking at what's happened to us and say, okay, what do I need to learn and how do I need to change and how can I care more and lift people better? He said, there's just an awful lot of bravado. I don't know, bravado. I kind of thought of the old Tarzan movies, that kind of stuff. Well, I don't think Ed probably meant it quite that way, but we know what he meant. We know what he meant. Too much narcissism, too much bragging, too much, I'm great. When a crisis hits us, the first thing it ought to allow us to understand is that there's a whole bunch of stuff bigger than us. And the first thing we need to do is not put on false courage. The first thing we need to do is just be teachable. So I wrote in my notes, difficult times increase in value when we learn from them. They just do. And humility makes us teachable. Secondly, humility allows us to reflect, and it allows us to adjust during the pause. Ed talked about the pause. He said, John, everything kind of went on hold. Everything went on pause. And he said, it's going to be interesting to see if leaders took advantage of the pause and learned from it, or if they didn't. And so I put down, after talking with him, I put down things like this. Let's think about reflecting and adjusting during the pause. Humility is comfortable with correction. Humility is willing to reconsider. Humility seeks learning as much as it wants to lead. Humility values the pause to make adjustments and pivot. That's a word we've heard a lot about. In fact, I began then to go inside myself. And one quick thing, Alan Ross says, humility means knowing and using your strength for the benefit of others on behalf of a higher purpose. The humble leader is not weak, but strong, is not preoccupied with self, but with how best to use his or her strengths for the good of others. A humble leader does not think less of himself, but chooses to consider the needs of others in fulfilling a worthy cause. I love to be in the presence of a humble leader because they bring out the very best in me. Their focus is on my purpose, my contribution, my ability to accomplish all that I've ever set out to accomplish. Well, Dan Cathy was playing golf.